A Dodge salesman, or any salesman selling against Mercury for that matter, might feel a little discouraged if he were to accept Mercury's advertising claims at face value. But before anyone gets scared off, let's take a good look at Mercury's claims. Let's see in terms of facts what it is that Mercury really has to sell and how it stacks up against Dodge. Let's compare the Dodge Royal against the Mercury Monterey in the four-door sedan. Now let's see what Mercury's shouting is all about.
The brand new 59 Mercury shows you what new really means.
That's what the ad says. But what are the facts? We're shown a car that is smaller than last year's in 8 out of 12 important interior dimensions. Yet according to Mercury,
You relax in a new kind of comfort.
this new kind of comfort, really new, they say, is obtained with lower seats, less headroom front and rear, less hip room front and rear, smaller door entrance front and rear, and less room between steering wheel and seat cushion. Of course, Mercury doesn't actually claim more comfort in so many words. They talk about a new kind of comfort, which is not the same thing. Less comfort is also a new kind of comfort, and maybe that's their out. Another Mercury advertising line you may have noticed by now is this.
Isn't it about time you enjoyed these car comforts and features?
Now, if they're addressing Mercury owners, or perhaps even GM car owners, yes, it's about time. But they talk about other cars, which must include Dodge. And there's just one thing wrong with that. Dodge owners enjoy and have enjoyed for years many of the car comforts that Mercury is talking about, plus many other comfort and convenience features that Mercury does not mention. Now, we don't mean to pick Mercury's advertising slogans apart word by word. We've gone this far only to prove what we said in the first place, that it's a good time to take a close look at Mercury's claims rather than accept them at face value. Here's what Mercury has to say about its new kind of comfort.
No car in its price class has more usable room than this new Mercury.
Well, when you talk about usable room, you're certainly talking about headroom and legroom. Here are the facts. In four-door sedans, Dodge has 2.5 inches more headroom in front and 1.5 inches more in the rear. Dodge has 1 2/10 inches more legroom in front and about 1 inch less in the rear. However, in four-door hardtops, Dodge has Mercury beat both ways by 1.2 inches in front legroom and 1 inch in rear legroom. In both sedans and hardtops, all other dimensions are within 1/2 inch of each other, with Dodge having the slight advantage in some instances, Mercury in others. But the point is this. The figures do not bear out Mercury's claim that no car in its price class has more usable room, not as long as Dodge is in Mercury's price class. Let's see what else Mercury claims.
Mercury offers wider doors for easier entrance. There are 6 inches more entrance room.
And it's true that Mercury doors are wider. They overlap the door opening by quite a bit. They've made a tricky statement, but it would be a better trick if they'd show us how to get through those wide doors. Now, if they want to talk about door openings, that's a different matter. The fact is that Dodge's door openings are almost 2.5 inches wider than Mercury's in front and more than 3 inches wider in the rear. That's in four-door sedans, of course. In four-door hardtops, the Dodge front door opening is 4 inches wider than Mercury's. In the rear, Dodge has the advantage by about 1 inch. Now let's look at the sedans again. As for door opening height, another important dimension that has a lot to do with how easily you get in and out of a car, we cut out a template to fit Mercury's door opening. Putting the Mercury-sized template in Dodge's door opening shows exactly how much more opening height Dodge has. Now, here, according to Mercury, is another feature it's time everybody enjoyed. They say,
Windshield posts moved forward. No knee whacking in Mercury.
well, Mercury did reduce the size of their knee whacker, but using the same template we used earlier, that knee whacker, as Mercury calls it, is still pretty much in evidence when you consider that in Dodge, it's totally absent. Now, what about that hump in the floor? Here's what Mercury says in making a big feature out of it.
Stretch-out room for the middleman. Only Mercury cut the hump in half.
Well, it's hard to tell which hump is higher, Dodge or Mercury, if you consider where the middle passenger puts his feet. And that's what Mercury is talking about in an effort to come up with a customer benefit. And what about the tunnel in the rear compartment, which Mercury neglects to mention? The template cut to Mercury's dimensions shows the difference when it's placed in Dodge's rear compartment. It's easy to see how much bigger Mercury's tunnel is. Now, here's Mercury again, saying it's about time you enjoyed
more legroom up front for everyone. Mercury moved the instrument panel forward 9 inches.
Actually, Mercury has less legroom than Dodge, as we've already seen. And we might point out that it's customary to measure legroom from the seat back to the toe board. Moving the instrument panel forward doesn't affect legroom one way or the other. Maybe they mean knee room, but distance from the knee to the closest point on the instrument panel is about the same in both cars. So moving their instrument panel forward gives Mercury no advantage as far as Dodge is concerned. But Mercury does end up with a disadvantage. By moving their panel forward, they make their glove box shallower. It's only about half as deep as Dodge's. But let's listen to another Mercury claim.
First side-to-side windshield wipers. Clears a 5-foot swath. The center, too.
Well, now, that sounds good, and the illustration looks good. But actual performance is something else again. In the first place, people normally look out through a windshield, not in. And that makes quite a difference. And how does the windshield area that's actually cleared, not the area the ad says is cleared, compare with Dodge? The difference is mainly in the job done by Mercury's right-hand wiper. The dotted line shows the sweep of Dodge's wiper, and it also shows that Mercury has merely relocated the uncleared area rather than eliminated it, as their ad implies. And another interesting thing is that Mercury's rear-view mirror is right smack over the area that's been newly cleared, blocking the view anyway. Finally, Mercury says it's about time you enjoyed
more usable trunk room. Easier to get at. Wider, lower opening.
Well, in this Dodge trunk is a box occupying 7.1 cubic feet of the trunk's capacity. That is exactly the amount of extra trunk capacity Dodge has over Mercury. And it's Dodge that has the wider, lower opening. It's 13 inches wider and 3 inches lower than Mercury's. Certainly, Dodge, not Mercury, is the car that has more usable, easy-to-get-at trunk room. And now, prepare yourself for some more interesting claims as Mercury continues to define the word new for us.
Feel lively, new performance.
Uh-huh. Now let's look at the facts and judge whether this is another play on words where new does not necessarily mean better. The fact is that 1959 Mercury engines right across the line have less horsepower and lower compression ratio than last year. And since the engines have not been otherwise improved in design, there is only one conclusion to be reached. The conclusion is this: Mercury's new performance is less performance. It's the trimming down that makes it new. In contrast to this Mercury engine setup, Dodge V8 engines have higher horsepower and a higher compression ratio than last year. Furthermore, the highest performance Dodge Super D500 engine at 345 horsepower is available as optional equipment in any of the 3 Dodge lines. Mercury's highest performing engine, the 345 horsepower Marauder, is available only for the highest priced Mercury line. Another thing Mercury says is,
enjoy new economies. The big special is the Monterey, which offers a new economy engine.
Well, the way Mercury achieved this so-called new economy engine was to use a smaller engine with less displacement, lower compression ratio, and 102 less horsepower than in 1958. No doubt this is one way to achieve economy, but new? Another claim Mercury makes for this engine is that it gives you 10 free miles out of every 100. Well, this dramatically cut-down Monterey engine is capable of using non-premium fuel. And since the non-premium fuel costs about 10% less than the premium brand, there's where the 10% saving is. But then it should also be pointed out that the Dodge Red Ram V8 with 45 more horsepower and a higher compression ratio than the Monterey engine also operates on regular gasoline. So Dodge matches Mercury's so-called free ride mile for mile. In Dodge, you get economy and performance. In addition, Dodge offers the only 6-cylinder engine in the big car field. It's the best possible deal for the prospect who wants big car prestige, big car comfort, maximum operating economy at low initial cost. So it's Dodge that provides the best choice in engines, whether the prospect wants peak economy or peak V8 performance. Dodge also provides the best in power steering. Dodge Constant Control Power Steering is an integral unit that works full time, requires fewer turns of the steering wheel, and has the same smooth, light feel all the time. Mercury's power steering system is an add-on unit which works only part-time, requires more turns of the steering wheel, and in general requires so much effort you hardly know the car is equipped with power steering in most ordinary driving. Now, what about brakes? Mercury says
self-adjusting brakes that are safer.
The fact is that the duo servo type brakes used by Mercury usually require adjustment about every 1,000 miles. To eliminate this nuisance, Mercury needs the self-adjusting feature. On the other hand, Dodge brakes go as long as a year or more without an adjustment. In other words, Dodge never had the adjustment problem to overcome. Now, there are other important differences between Dodge and Mercury brakes. For instance, Dodge brakes have a total lining area of up to 230 square inches. Mercury claims 233 square inches of lining area. But this figure includes the rivet holes, where there is no lining actually contacting the drum. As far as effective brake lining is concerned, that is, lining that actually contacts the brake drum, Mercury has only 205 square inches. The Dodge figure of 230 square inches still stands because of Dodge's total contact feature. Now, aside from the advantage of having more lining contacting the drum, Dodge brake lining is bonded to the shoe rather than riveted like Mercury's. When Mercury's lining is worn down to the rivet heads and has to be replaced, there's still quite a bit of Dodge lining. Actually, Dodge brake lining will last twice as long as Mercury's. Now, Mercury also says
super enamel finish, never needs waxing.
We could comment that Dodge Luster Bond never needs waxing either. Actually, Dodge Luster Bond body finish is the best finish available today. To make it so, first the raw metal is rust-proofed, after which a first and then a second primer coat is applied. Next, the primer coat is wet sanded. Then follow 2 coats of Luster Bond high-baked enamel. All this adds up to the finest, hardest, mirror-like finish it's possible to get in a car, regardless of price.
Aluminized mufflers that last twice as long as conventional ones.
Well, there's another Mercury claim, and it's correct as far as it goes. But you see, Dodge goes further with an aluminized dual exhaust system. Not only the muffler, but the tailpipe and the rest of the exhaust system are aluminized. Dodge aluminized dual exhaust system is standard on Custom Royal and Coronet convertibles and all D500 models. It is optional on other V8 models. Now, what we have proved so far is that Dodge has plenty of strong selling points against Mercury, even when the 2 cars are compared in the features where Mercury considers itself strongest. And now that we've set the record straight on Mercury's what new really means theme, and also their isn't it about time theme, we think that turnabout is fair play. So, isn't it about time Mercury owners enjoyed these features that Dodge owners are enjoying now? For example, Dodge has push-button automatic transmission and heater controls, making driving easier and simpler than ever before. Dodge has the safety color speedometer that is green to 30 miles an hour, amber to 50, and red over 50 for added safety. And Dodge, but not Mercury, has safe lock door latches that really interlock to keep doors from flying open even under most severe impact. Dodge offers variable speed electric windshield wipers that can be adjusted to fit every weather condition. But in Mercury, the driver is limited to a 2-speed wiper. Dodge offers the swing-out swivel seat, the best seat idea to come along in years for easier and more graceful entry and exit. No, it's not available in Mercury. Aside from some improvement in the anti-dive feature in the front suspension, Mercury has made no significant changes in their suspension system. They still retain the outmoded coil leaf spring arrangement, and there is no noticeable improvement in ride qualities. In short, the Mercury ride does not compare with Dodge Torsion Air Ride. This ride is the result of a combination of many factors. Torsion springing in front, fully outboard rear leaf springs mounted close to the rear wheels, and Oriflow shock absorbers, to name the major components of the Dodge suspension system. It's on the road that Dodge Torsion Air Ride benefits can be demonstrated. Benefits such as easier handling, better ride control, less lean on curves, no rear-end squat when starting, no front-end dive when stopping. So give your Mercury-minded prospect a demonstration ride in a Dodge. Call his attention to the features available on Dodge, but not on Mercury. Once prospects know about them and about all the other features that more than match all of Mercury's claims, they'll think it's about time they stopped shopping around and decided on the car that actually does give them everything they want on wheels instead of just talking about it. The car we have in mind, of course, is the 1959 Dodge.